Hi, welcome to Photos with Frank. This is where we talk to interesting people and put them in their favorite things. I'm joined by Hamish from Push the Point, and
Hey,
Hamish does so much content, it's crazy. Um, how are you doing, Hamish?
I'm good. I've done too much content because I'm crazy. Uh,
Look,
there's spoiler season. Spoiler season's coming around, and it's been really busy. Been doing a lot of audio work, messing about and learning, which is one of the best bits about me doing all the spoiler season stuff. Because most of the time, it's camera on. You get your OBS thing set up, and you do a lot of the pre-setup work to make sure that you can kind of just roll through the editing stuff without, tears in your hands of the amount of all the like transitions and stuff you have to do. But when it comes to spoiler season, it's like, right, here's a piece of paper,
yeah,
make a masterpiece, and you're like, oh god,
I'm
here we go.
I'm finding out the hard way. But
Yeah.
your favorite card is Runic Reclamation, right? That's one of them.
Absolutely, it's from. It's got my boy Viz on it, and so all the stuff that's going on there. It's got so much like story and feel to it. Yeah, that card is just so good.
Yeah. So in about enough for a YouTube short. Give me a little spiel on what you like about it. Like, does it lead to your favorite like gameplay patterns, or is it just like, I mean, you already got into the art and the story and Viserai and all of that, but yeah, could you give me a minute probably?
I can give you. I can give you more, but I'll give you a minute. So why I love this card because I feel like it's the next sort of step towards the journey of Viserai and his story. In short, Viserai was is one of my favorite heroes, and when you read up the story and what he's done, he has made a big difference in what's happening and kind of the key to unlock the War of the Monarch. And that art is so good. It feels like he stepped into my Afriel, and we're seeing his new reaping blade and all these cool effects going on, and I think it just really shows off Viserai's power in Flesh and Blood.
So Viserai is your big boy, right? Like, it's your favorite deck. You've had quite a bit of success with it.
Yeah,
What is it that you like about it?
well, Viserai was the hero that is the rule. It's the rule of cool of every game that you play, right? If you play a game, it's got to cool. It's got to be cool, right? There's no point playing a game you think, well, this is lame, but the rules are cool. Most of the time, you look at it because it just looks really cool and it's in your thing. And Viserai was my pull. He was the guy that was like, who am I going to lean on? I think everyone's got a, like, I don't know. I'm just going to base this a little bit on Warhammer 40,000. If anyone's ever played that, um, if you're going to play something, I was like, oh, what's cool? I liked Necrons look cool. And then my brother was like, well, I like Tyranids. They're like alien sort of stuff. And Necrons like metal. Well, they look like Terminators really, from the film Terminator. So I was
So
like, oh, they look cool. So you play. So Flesh and Blood was, when it first came out, there was Rhinar, Katsu, Bravo, and Dorinthia. Rhinar was cool, but it was like, yeah, it was cool, right? And then I didn't come off, didn't sort of not want to play the game, but there was nothing sort of hooking me in to getting involved, because if this is a hero-centric game where you really love the characters and the vibes, it's not just like Magic the Gathering where it's like a theme of things that you like the look of. This is you liking the hero and what their story and what they're presenting and how they work and feel and attack and move. So when I jumped back in, I saw Viserai and I was like, well, you know, look at me. I'm covered in tattoos. This guy looks edgy as hell.
I was gonna
And
say,
yeah,
Runeblade has
whether he's good or
really,
bad, I'll play him.
yeah, Runeblade has really cornered the market in just the edgy, kind of
Mm,
aesthetic, and that's really fun. I mean,
that's what we want. That's
my
what I
boy
want.
Chain, yeah, I know, my boy Chain is amongst the edgiest. He just looks like he's straight
Yeah,
out of Maneskin, the band,
yeah, yeah,
which is
yeah.
great. I'm very into that.
You know
Um,
what? I would have been more into Chain, and this is one of my, and this is like an aesthetic thing. And, it's not my sort of, but when I saw the story of him, he looked more armored, and he felt like he had this hood over his head, and like I felt like if he looked for me, and it's just my taste, more like the Bounding Demigon card, where you see that
mm,
lamp, and he's got his hood, and what? And I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been really cool. Where Chain, I don't know, man. I'm just not a big fan of the chest out, sort of naked, not much wearing sort of vibe.
Chest out, breast out. Yeah, I'm here for
Yeah, yeah. Where's Viserai? I think it's the mask. I love masks. I love Arachne as well. I love that whole I don't know what they are sort of thing. That's why everyone likes Space Marines for Warhammer, right? They got helmets on, and the helmets look cool. Kylo Ren sort of thing. Helmets on, he just looks cool, right? And I think that's why I liked Viserai a lot, because he's just this really heavily armored dude.
One thing I really like about Viz aesthetically is I like that he's asymmetrical. I like that his armor is like bigger on one side, and the mask and the lights from all of that all end up kind of being different, and this arcane insignia is all really kind of unique, and I like that. I think that adds a lot to it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It really adds to like the mysticism of it. So then you got into it because he was cool as hell.
And that's how it all starts, right?
Yeah, and like you just continued getting into it from a gameplay perspective.
Yeah,
it really hooked you that way.
Yeah, one of my things that I like, it's all about who I play with. So you've got a game, you like the look of it, it's cool, but every game needs to have your pals to play with. One of the biggest things that hooks me, I've got a really real good friend of mine who I play lots of card games with in my local scene. His name is Mikey, and my brother as well. And both of them at the time just kind of heard about Flesh and Blood and looked at it, and I heard of it, but I just came out of Warhammer Champions, which was another TCG, and it died. So I was kind of like, like an ex just broke up with me. Like, I'm cool with TCGs for a bit. I need, it just feels like here's another one to fail with, which obviously it's all wrong now. These guys are absolutely on it. But at the time, I was like, nah, it was pre-COVID.
Didn't want to get hurt again. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it's just, and at the time, they weren't even selling it in the UK. I'm like, dude, why are we getting into games that we can't buy? It just seems ridiculous. But my brother and my friend said they're really liking the look of it, and just because, and they needed someone to, and I have a lot of energy, so if I'm on it and I've got my energy and my enthusiasm, they can feed off that. And I need people who are very funny and enjoyable to play with to give energy off. So they said, I'm into it. I was like, well, okay, well, if you're into it, let's have a go. And then, it just kind of took off from there, really.
And that was it. Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of like, you do forget that at the end of the day, no matter how good the mechanics are, or kind of what's happening with the gameplay or the story, it's really the community that matters, and like having people to play with that are really nice. And I think, coming from some other card games, I think we've been really lucky in Flesh and Blood. And just that, like, I've played on every level. Like, I was at Baltimore and Jersey, and just like lots of callings and whatever. And I've had 2 bad interactions with everyone that I've met over the last 2 years, which for a card game is crazy. That's just like, with how many people.
What sort of bad interactions? What's the? Yeah, I'm intrigued.
It's mostly some forms of like rules lawyering, and people trying to get an edge in a way that is like pretty toxic. But that's something that, like, hasn't really, I haven't seen, in 2 years having 2 bad interactions, and like not even being able to count it just on my hands, being able to count it on my thumbs is a miracle, honestly. Just from coming from like Magic or other card games. Like, I'm really excited with how genuinely kind and happy just to play and like teach me and have a great time that people are. It's really nice.
I agree. Maybe there's a part of it where, however long ago we were all jumping in playing Magic at the time, and I know there's a very different varying age groups that are playing this, but I feel like the ballpark of between 25 to 35, and I know there's definitely more people older and younger than that, but there's probably I feel that 25 to 35 age bracket now of at that time is just starting to, well, they're maturing a lot more. Do you know what I mean?
It
They
does
come
feel
out of Magic, and we're all a bit more mature with our games. Like back in 2010, when we're all playing games in 2010 or 2013. That's like 10 years ago now, and we're all in our early 20s or teenagers at that time. So we're all like getting this bad habits maybe, and just being feeling like you've got to be superior. I don't know. Maybe it's just a young person's thing.
I think it's also, yeah. I mean, you're exactly right in the money, in that the age demographic of Flesh and Blood is so old comparatively. Like, there's so many dads and just moms and just like parents that like, hey, I can't finish the last round. I gotta go put my kid to bed. Happens at our local lot, and
I'm one of them. I'm a dad as well. At the time, I was just this young lad. I wasn't playing card games, but I think it's even just other games. I was playing like War Machine and Hordes. If anyone's ever heard of that, they probably haven't. But it was a really competitive tabletop game that was overtaking 40K in the competitive model scene. And yeah, man, it was sweaty, right? People were sweaty. There were rule lawyers and all sorts of stuff. And I think as we're just all grown up a little bit more now. I still will say that even if you go to big competitive events, there's some sweatiness. It's not all.
It's not completely clear, but
no, it can't be. It's people. People are wanting to win, but I agree. I feel like a lot of us has just matured more as people, and a lot of the teenagers are now who are playing with us. It's almost like we've been playing with a load of 35-year-olds 10 years ago, which are probably, getting their social, how things rub off from their peers however many years ago. And maybe that's just how they had to approach these games, because they were a lot more niche at the time. So as they were growing in size, so was the community's competitive edge to do that, and they're all working out what does it mean to get that competitive edge, and is it just trying to be a little bit more quote scummy, and then the younger people are rubbing off on that's what I've got to do that, and then now we're all maturing and realizing that's not how the best way to come about it. So we're a bit more chiller, and hopefully the teenagers and stuff that are watching watching us as peers are realizing that's how we act in card games, or competitive games that we sit across from another human being that isn't physical. What I mean?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. As a small tangent,
that was a real tangent.
I'm going on, just like you talked about tabletop games, and one of my latest kind of crazes has been Star Wars Shatterpoint.
Right.
Are you?
I'm not a Star Wars.
Okay, this is not.
So, what is a Star Wars fan? That's another tangent. Like I like Star Wars, right? I like Star Wars. The films are cool. I enjoyed them. I've seen one or two bits. Yeah, they're cool, man. Am I like a diehard guy that's like, no, I love this hero and I want to be this guy and I'm gonna go? No, I am far removed from that. I couldn't give a shit about. Sorry, I don't know if you're allowed to swear or not, but please. I think we're safely a few minutes in, so YouTube won't hammer you. So, I've got like no problem with Star Wars, but I'm not like some super fan either. I'm not like an Avengers fan either. I enjoy it, but not like
fair.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not a cult member.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I'm like a pretty casual enjoyer of Star Wars. I also don't play a lot of tabletop games, and so
missing out.
Yeah, well,
tabletop games are awesome.
Yeah, I played a few in the past, and I've gotten into it. It's just that it's a big time sink, and like I can barely focus on one thing. There's literally a reason that I'm doing two things at once. But the big thing about it is just that like doing it for like 3 or 4 hours for a game to happen, and then trying to keep playing and stuff is just like I can't really wrap my head. I don't have the attention span for it.
I reckon that it's a lot of the times it's almost like if someone got given their first video game and the video game was Dark Souls and they went, I have no time for video games if this is what it is. And it's like, dude, the breadth of what is available is there. There's definitely something that will pique your interest, because if you enjoy the social setting of sitting amongst other people and enjoying a game, there is definitely something within that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 100% a game into tabletop. Just like Flesh and Blood. If the first one they picked up was, if the first time there was ever a card game, and someone went, "Oh, what? So it's 1v1 and there's all this stuff and it's really deep," and I'm like, "Dude, it's not every card game ever. There's so many other ones.
So many
if this isn't it, yeah, it's the same thing."
I have a really good question for you. How many games coming, especially like coming from Magic? How many games did it take you to actually get into and not get overwhelmed by Flesh and Blood? Because for me, it took like I found the micro decisions that you have to make just honestly overwhelming. Like I was it took me like 30 or 40 games to feel like I wasn't completely overwhelmed with how many different choices I had every single time.
Oh, so when you're saying games, is it? I took the question of how many different old games did I play, and I was like,
no.
oh no,
I'm talking.
How many games did I play?
Games of Flesh and Blood that you played before it kind of clicked, because like it obviously clicked. You keep playing it and you're enjoying it, but how long do you reckon that actually took you? Because like yeah,
I think everyone's I think a lot of people are different. It's one of those things that I noticed. I was fine with it.
okay.
I
You just
suppose.
immediately.
Yeah, I played a game called Netrunner, and there was definitely a lot of minute rule points, like layering that happened in that game. And if you have played Netrunner, you'll know like there is a point where you probably if you're a runner trying to hack a corporation, and the corporation have their hand, they have their deck, and they have the bin, and they are things that you can go for and attack. Your objective as a runner is to steal the corporation's agendas, which is like some points. If you steal 7 points of agenda, you win. The corporation's trying to stop you, and if they can score 7 points of their own agendas, they win. So it's just back and forth between that. And then they have these walls, and they're called ice, to stop you from getting into their servers, i.e. have a look at their hand, have a look at their deck, have a look at the bin, have a look at all these other servers, or otherwise, these things on the board that they're making, and they're trying to stop you from getting it, and you're trying to get in. There is rules to go, did you approach the ice? What happens before the ice is even paid for to flip up? And then when you see the ice, there is these steps. There is imagine everything is like an instant window. And then in this, it's just, where's the instant window? There's a lot, but I'm kind of looked at it and went, and that's actually, I love that. I was like, oh, here we go. This is where we can get really funky with stuff. So it took me a while to find it, but I wasn't overwhelmed with it. Now, saying that, I have seen some people playing who find that overwhelming. And to me, it's one of those things where you go, what's the context of the game right now? Because are we in Pro Tour at my friend's local store? No. So maybe there's a point where you just have to sort of tone down a little bit on how much of this rule book I'm going to throw at you.
Yeah, I think
let's just play Brute versus Guardian.
Yeah, I think for me,
and then we can learn slowly.
Yeah, I think for me, what ended up happening was just, especially like, I mean, Magic was really the only card game that I played before this, and then I guess I did get into quite a few other games after. But what I found was that like you make a lot of macro decisions in Magic, in that like you're gonna play a land and like there is some hand disruption, but like you aren't blocking with cards from hand. You're not cycling through your deck like drawing a new hand every turn. And
Hmm.
so it was just the decision points that I made just changed constantly based on, like, if you block and stuff. And then you kind of figure out that it doesn't actually matter as much as you think. You like, for me at least, when I play the game, I like identify a game plan based on the hand or what I'm doing in a matchup, and then I like identify what I need to get rid of and what's worth it. But that's like not actually that hard compared
It's
to.
interesting because I feel that when I played Magic, is that the actual core rules of Magic's turn structure was very, very basic, but the complexities came down with the cards. So it's all about all the different cards I'm slamming down on the board. They're the things that are actually going to be creating some more additional rules to the game, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with Flesh and Blood, I feel like there's a lot of core rules. There's lots of windows and everything, and then the card kind of slots into these core rules of when they're best utilized to being played. And to me, I feel like it's easier and harder, I suppose. At the same time, I could be getting this take completely wrong, and through my lack of pure understanding on Magic, but I find Magic utterly overwhelming because I have to remember everyone's goddamn cards. Whereas in Flesh and Blood,
Oh yeah.
I feel that I know these core rules well. So really, the cards have to fit into these opening windows at the right sort of time, and it's very rare to find something hit the board that fundamentally changes the way how this game's going to work in a dime. Whereas when I played Magic, I've had like a go at Commander, and my friend's like, "All right, I'll just put this monster down." I'm like, what does this do? Well, it just has text saying, "Oh, like if I tap this on this point of the turn, create this many -1 tokens, and then at the end of this point, this minus token will go down. That will create a thing that does this, a treasure chest." And this treasure, I'm like, fuck, Jesus Christ! This is one card in one thing.
Yeah.
I have not got time to remember this or care.
That's fair.
And this, and that's what. There's another tabletop game that did the same thing. It was called Malifaux, and it was the cool rules were very straightforward. But the second one person just brought their army down, they had their own rules, and I was like, so what does this rule do? And it's like a real chunk of their own rule. And it's like, well, it sounds very similar to mine. Yeah, but mine happens at this point. So we're going to give it a completely different name and word it in such a... And you're like, oh, mate, I can't be bothered trying to work out
This is stressful.
this
There's so
whole
much
army's...
information that I have to figure out. Yeah.
And maybe because I'm so deep into Flesh and Blood, I'm not trying to... I understand that Flesh and Blood has a hell of a lot of complexities to it. You know, you look at Dromai and you look at Kano. It's just, well, and then Dash. The way these, well, maybe not, you know, but they have some things on there that are really, really confusing. And I think the most confusing one is Spectra. Like that one is the one that makes you go, that is a real rule, like melting one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't inherently make sense.
Yeah, Spectra's a bit of a nightmare. I think one of the nice things about this game, you know, if someone's playing, is both the age and the like breadth of cards that there are. But one of the big things is that, like, you know, if you're playing against a Guardian, you don't have to worry about a, you know, something that...
It's probably Crush, right?
Yeah,
it's probably Crush.
It's probably Crush.
Crush is the thing.
You just have to worry about that. You don't have to think about the wizard cards. You can really focus in on that deck and what that's going to be there. Whereas, like, if you're playing red, could they be playing Lightning Bolt? I don't know. Okay, I am done though. So
whoa, okay, that shot by. Yeah. I can't wait to see it.
It's a fun little one. Hopefully you'll find it enjoyable. I've sent it through on Discord.
What are you doing on there?
I just thought it'd be fun. You know,
they're all you. That's the
Yeah,
joke.
that's the fun. Yeah. I
Hang
want
on,
to
you
see
got an
if you
old picture of me. You found the old picture of me. I'm killing Trip. This is brilliant. And oh yeah, you actually are there. I actually thought that was me for a second. No joke. The one near the old face. That
Yeah.
God, you deep dived right into my Facebook.
I remembered that you commented on a lot of the posts, and I was like, I think I have some good photos, but I already used a lot of them, so I wanted to mix it up a little bit. But
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I don't know. I tell you what, there's a dashing version of me on that bottom right. I don't know what I'm doing there. I don't know what I was, but I look like the face that I pull when my wife Faye tells me you got to do all the dishes.
yeah, it's time to take out the trash. Is the pout?
Uh, yeah, or no, that's the face I pull when I know she hasn't taken out put the bin out. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
me decapitating Trip's head brings me great joy. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah. Shout out to Trip. I talked to you very little, but I thought it'd be fun to have a little thing. I should have put Simon in there somewhere.
Yeah, we've also got a new lad called Sean as well, who's
Oh.
joined the Push the Point, and he's a new member. So
Oh.
yeah, he's a new member. Because if people have noticed that there's probably one or two streams, if you are subscribed to our channel, we have streams now in the UK, and we're going to also we're not streaming it, but we're going to be casting the calling event in the UK in Birmingham. And Sean is going to be there capturing lots of vlog stuff as well. And we did a couple of live streams from the Road to National season, and we're going to be doing some more.
I was gonna say, like, we're just about wrapped up. Like, I had a great time chatting with you. Yeah, like, plug your stuff.
Already ahead of you.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify and Apple playlists as well for our podcast. We do a wide range of different videos, from interviews to deck text, and a lot of podcasts. And we're just kind of really exploring our creative side on bringing lots of really cool content to the Flesh and Blood scene. If you like to hear what three British guys have to think about it, yeah, go subscribe. Or not, but it'd be cool if you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hamish. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
No problem. You got to subscribe to this guy as well. Bye-bye.